I think that trade is a key driver of competitiveness. In fact, if you look at the EU trade balance, our industry is contributing quite a lot to it. In fact, from the high-tech sectors, is one of the sectors which is contributing more, probably the one that is contributing more to the European trade balance. And clearly with that, it's obvious that emerging markets, and particularly fast-growing emerging markets, are increasingly important for our industry. First of all, the growing protectionist trend that we see in some markets. Protectionism is clearly not good because it brings instability, it delays access, and it can be quite negative for patients. The fact that recognition of quality and innovation can be a challenge in some of these markets. Clearly, not all of them have the innovative tradition that maybe we have in the EU or the US, and at certain moments it can be difficult to get those recognized. And for an R&D industry, this is certainly an important issue. We can see that the EU has concluded a number of important trade agreements with key partners, like for example Korea, and they're about to initiate important negotiations with the US, starting also negotiations now with Japan. So certainly a very strong trade agenda that is complemented with important bilateral dialogues with key markets. The EU is perceived as a trusted partner. It's also perceived as a source of reference for countries that are really undertaking important reforms or planning to undertake important reforms and are looking at what the EU has done in the past years as something that they could inspire some of the reforms they're having. So the aim of that committee really is to try to work with European authorities, but also with authorities and industries in non-EU markets, try to build good and constructive cooperation platforms in order to address some of the business issues, to ensure a level playing field for all, not just for European companies, but certainly for all, and make sure that we remove any unnecessary hurdle that delays access of patients to key drugs and vaccines. The key achievement of the ETPC has really been to build that constructive platform with European authorities, also with authorities of non-EU markets. I think that's a first step if we want to improve the situation in terms of trade. But then this has led to some concrete results and important results. For example, the inclusion of a pharmaceutical chapter in the EU-Korea Free Trade Agreement. This has certainly been important to improve transparency and criteria and have some very clear criteria in the decision-making process. The fact that through the work of the committee and through this good cooperation with authorities, we have managed to build some new cooperation platforms in the regulatory field with important markets like China and Russia. And this is key because we see now that some of the ongoing reforms that are taking place in those markets are moving towards an harmonized system, which is very important for our companies, which operate in many countries and cannot have really a different system in each of the markets they operate. That the work of the committee has managed to deliver new cooperation agreements between EFPIA and industry associations in non-EU markets, like, for example, CPIA, the biggest Chinese association. And this is key because we see that we have increasing common interests. This year, we see that there is a very important one that is likely to be initiated, which is the EU trade negotiations with the US. And certainly, this is going to become a key project for our committee because we see a lot of opportunities with those negotiations, opportunities to improve the business environment in the EU, in the US. And we want to do so trying to find win-win solutions. So we need to understand why these measures are being adopted and try to see how our industry can cooperate with authorities to find solutions where you are able to deliver your medicines and vaccines, but also understand the objectives of the market, the competitiveness agenda, and if you can, support that. just to try to see if we can work together on some of the ongoing policy reforms and just align positions, exchange information, exchange best practices, which will be certainly positive for all.